Yo, Nathaniel's back. Never going to say that again. I figure I'd start out by saying that I agree with what everyone else has been saying. There is a lot of information in these chapters. And I have a lot that I want to say, so I'm just going to blaze through it and not sit here chatting away. Alright, I'm going to start now with the Dursleys, because we're leaving them, we're not going to see them again for a long time. I have one more thing to say about them. And it's not really about them, I guess it sort of is. They talk about taking Dudley to the hospital to get his tail removed, and you'd think that's something the Ministry would take care of. I can imagine the scene at the hospital. Sir, I hate to tell you this, but, well, your son has a tail. And then I can see Uncle Vernon being like, You think I don't know that? Of course he has a tail, why'd you think I brought him to you? My point. It's just one of those things that I thought, I don't know what would really happen here, but I don't think it would turn out well. Anyway. After reading the book so many times, I didn't think I'd come up with these many things that would surprise me, but, you know. So Diagon Alley. How much protection does this place need? You already have the Leaky Cauldron, all of the witches and wizards that normally stay there, and 3, you also have to have a secret little tap-on-the-brick passageway? Seems like overkill. I would think that the Leaky Cauldron being, you know, invisible to the Muggles would be enough protection. But then you have, on the opposite end of the spectrum, Platform 9 3/4. I mean, that doesn't seem to have any security at all. You lean against this wall, you fall into the magical place, you get to go off to school and have a magical fun enchanted time. Ooh, that was bad. I'm sure that it has more protection than just that one wall, but, I mean, what's keeping people from going through it? I guess maybe you have to have a wand to get through it? I don't know. That would make sense, I guess. Anyway, I'm going to move on from that and talk about one of my favorite characters who is mentioned least of all in the Harry Potter series. Mr. Ollivander. Yeah, I know he's just a rickety old man from the wand shop, but hey, he's pretty cool for an old guy. What struck me on this read-through, and I know my dad and Karina mentioned it the other day, was that Ollivander calls Harry Mr. Potter. Now, for the most respected wand maker in the country, maybe the world, he calls a little kid Mr. Potter. I'm sure it's just to show how respected and revered Harry is, but for the best wand maker in the world to be calling him Mr. Potter? But I guess that brings me into another question I had, which is, Ollivander is the best wand maker, or is he the only wand maker in England? I mean, I know we talk about other wand makers later, like Grigorovich, but when Hagrid says, Ollivander's the only one for your wands, does he mean the only one? Is he the only wand maker there, or just the best? Thoughts? Oh, and for such a well-to-do, professional, respected wand maker, I would think Ollivander would have a better policy than, oh, just give it a wave. Can you even imagine the things that have gone down in that shop? Some little kid gives his wand a wave and suddenly all of the wands in the entire shop turn into giant man-eating inchworms. Or footworms, or whatever. I guess now, as Harry transitions into the wizarding world, is a good time to mention how much staying in the Muggle world has set him apart from everyone else. I'm sure this was all part of Dumbledore's plan, but Harry living with the Muggles did change his life significantly. Of course, there's the obvious things, that he knows nothing. No one can believe that he really doesn't know about Quidditch, he doesn't know about Hogwarts, he doesn't know about the different houses at Hogwarts, anything. But he also calls Voldemort by name. He's not all this you-know-who nonsense, because he wasn't trained to be afraid of the name. I guess, maybe most importantly, Harry staying with the Dursleys gave him a sort of selflessness. I guess the part that I'm thinking about is when Fred and George corner him on the train, and like, you're him, you're Harry Potter! And Harry's like, oh yeah, I'm him. I mean, yeah, that's me. It shows that he has this sort of out-of-body experience with being a wizard, being famous. He doesn't quite believe it yet, I guess. Before I move on to my spoiler section, I guess I also want to talk about the Sorting Hat, and since Sean mentioned it, Ravenclaw. Yeah. But really, with the Sorting Hat, Hogwarts has such a segregating policy. I mean, this raggedy old hat says, okay, you go here, you go here, you go here, you're friends, I'm going to split you up, you go there and there, now you're enemies. It's a lot of power for one hat to have. Alright, now it's time for the spoilers. In other words, if you haven't read the books yet, it's time for you to skip to the end of this video by clicking right here. Yep. Right there. Go ahead. Now, if you don't click that button, that is the same as signing a legal contract that you won't get mad at me for spoiling the rest of the series for you. Here we go. My first thing to say doesn't really involve the rest of the series, just the end of this book, and that is Quirrell at the Leaky Cauldron. He ends up shaking Harry's hand, which, as we know from the end of the book, Quirrell can't touch Harry because he has Voldemort living inside him on the back of his head. So that's what I thought when I read through the chapter this week. And then later on I realize that he doesn't have his turban until he's actually at Hogwarts, thus bringing about the question, when did Voldemort really possess his soul? Was it sometime in the month between Harry met him and taking the job at Hogwarts, or did they have a little planny thingy beforehand, and Voldemort's like, no, I'll wait. No, go ahead, go. I'll possess your soul later. Anyway, now I need to go back to Ollivander for a minute, because he mentioned the central plot point to the entire thing when he said to Harry, "You have your mother's eyes." That is a motif that shows up for the rest of the book, and we find out at the end, of course, is horribly important, and the entire reason Harry's actually alive, and the entire reason everything happened ever. So in other words, I guess I'm agreeing with Alex and congratulating J.K. Rowling for her brilliant master planning. Holy cow, how do you think of something that early in advance that turns out to be so crucial in the end? It's ridiculous. Also, this is just a little tidbit I found interesting. In the scene with Ollivander, it mentions Ollivander giving Harry a piercing stare. Now, for anyone who's read the rest of the books, you know that this piercing stare comes back. Dumbledore gives it to Harry, all kinds of people give it to Harry. And in the 5th book, we find out that this is actually mind-reading or occlumency. So I find it very interesting that, I don't know if it was intentional, but J.K. Rowling introduced this theory early on. Before I stop talking for today, I just want to congratulate J.K. Rowling on the amazing character she has. I mean, just reading these 4 chapters, you are introduced to such iconic characters. You meet Malfoy, you meet Neville, you meet Ron and Hermione, which become Harry's friends, you meet all of the professors. My favorite one that really struck me this week was Nearly Headless Nick. He's in all the books, but I really didn't realize how ridiculous it was that he is literally walking around with his head half on. How do you come up with something like that? Seriously, J.K. Rowling, if you're watching this, send me an email. I want some of that creative juices flowing up here. Anyway, I hope you're liking reading with us so far. Please, if you haven't already, grab a copy. We're reading through chapters 9 through 12 this week, and it's our second to last week, so grab it before it's too late. Also, we really want to hear what you have to say. Weigh in with a comment or leave a video if you want a chance to be in our Sunday video. I hope you like it. Keep reading with us. I'll see you next week. Bye!